Fight scenes in movies are thrilling spectacles that leave us breathless. When filmmakers put in the effort, of course. From classic martial arts films to modern action movies, these fight sequences carry a unique atmosphere and an intense emotional punch. In this video, we'll dive into the top 10 greatest fight scenes in film history and explore what makes them so unforgettable. Some of these scenes have even become iconic, inspiring countless others like them. Let's get started. Top 10 most spectacular fight scenes in film history. 10th place, Atomic Blonde, The Staircase Fight.
Oh my god, I think I fucking love you.
That's too bad.
The 2017 action thriller Atomic Blonde features Charlize Theron in the lead role, playing one of MI6's most valuable agents, a deadly force with impressive combat skills.
Well, he's very curious what you're doing here in Berlin.
Her mission? To dismantle a spy network in Germany just days before the fall of the Berlin Wall. Director David Leitch is no stranger to crafting intense fight scenes, having worked on The Matrix, John Wick, and Blade. When the story of Atomic Blonde darkens, an intense fight scene unfolds on the staircase of a Berlin apartment building. This cold Soviet-style complex is eerily vacant, though filled with personal belongings that both combatants use to their advantage during the fight. Leitch shared that he was deeply impressed by Theron's training footage and decided she could handle the choreography in a single continuous shot. Almost continuous, that is. There are some cuts, but they're cleverly hidden. Initially, the stunt team was hesitant, worried that the scene would lose intensity. However, the risk paid off, and the stunning 8-minute sequence showcased Theron's talent as an action star, and further established Leitch and his stunt team's reputation as some of the best in Hollywood. Creating the scene took 2 weeks. Every corner of the building was analyzed to design a detailed production plan, and each blow required meticulous choreography. Filming took a total of 4 days, with sequences lasting up to 1.5 minutes of uninterrupted action, some visual effects, clever camera tricks, and well-disguised cuts. The scene was broken into segments, not due to Theron's limitations. She flawlessly executed the moves during rehearsals, but to make room for set adjustments, like adding bullet holes in the walls. For safety, parts of the staircase were padded with foam, and Theron was occasionally replaced by a stunt double. The creators, however, haven't revealed exactly when. The result is one of the most intense and technically demanding fight scenes in recent studio film history. 9th place, Fist of Fury, The Dojo Fight.
我想试试日本拳头的味道。
Bruce Lee redefined on-screen fight choreography, bringing a sense of realism. His fights felt like true combat, rather than exaggerated, almost circus-like performances. This approach shines in Fist of Fury, where Bruce showcases the Wing Chun style with close-range, direct strikes, ideal for street fights and large brawls. Fist of Fury includes numerous fight scenes featuring Lee, filmed in his signature style with wide shots and minimal cuts. This approach allows viewers to appreciate the precision of his moves without excessive editing. The most memorable fight is when Chen Jin, played by Lee, takes on more than 20 opponents in a Japanese dojo, creating an iconic moment that helped make the film legendary. For this scene, the film's team focused intently on every detail, ensuring each strike and movement was carefully choreographed to enhance the realism and intensity of the fight. Although most of Chen Jin's opponents are essentially punching bags, the scene remains thrilling. Initially, Chen fights barehanded, later wielding nunchaku, a weapon Lee mastered, creating a series of inventive combinations. The fight's climax, a one-on-one showdown with the Dojo master, is less flashy but still showcases Bruce Lee's legendary jumping kick. This one versus many setup has since become a classic action trope. The Dojo scene isn't just gripping, it embodies the spirit of martial arts, reminding viewers of Bruce Lee's prowess. Fist of Fury has rightfully earned its place as one of the greatest action films of all time, and the character of Chen Zhen has become iconic. Martial arts stars like Jet Li in Fist of Legend, 1994, and Donnie Yen in the 2010 remake have since honored Lee's legacy by recreating scenes from this cult classic. 8th place, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, the sword fight with Michelle Yeoh.
I've read all about the great fighters like you, roaming wild, dispensing with those who get in your way.
If they told how it really is, they wouldn't sell many books.
You're just...
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is an impressive martial arts film that leaves viewers breathless. Its action scenes are quite innovative, with fight choreography that is so perfectly crafted, it feels like a ballet performance, dazzling audiences. Nearly any of the fight scenes in this film could make it onto a list of the best of all time, but we've chosen the showdown between two graceful yet deadly women, Yu Shu Lian, played by Michelle Yeoh, and Zhen Yu, played by Zhang Ziyi. This duel, fought with swords, spears, metal rods, and whatever else they can get their hands on, stands out in the film thanks to precise choreography and spectacular moves. Surprisingly, the fight ends in a draw, yet this doesn't disappoint. Instead, it leaves viewers fully satisfied by what they've just witnessed. One more impressive detail about this scene happened behind the scenes. While performing one of her stunts, Michelle Yeoh seriously injured her knee, tearing her ACL, which stabilizes the kneecap. She was rushed to the hospital and underwent surgery, leading to adjustments in the filming schedule, and even part of the script. All the complex scenes were postponed until the actress had recovered. However, a full recovery would have taken too long.
How much my name looks like the word for sword. You are definitely talented.
So the fight with Zhang Ziyi was filmed while Yeoh's knee was still not completely healed. It's worth noting that Michelle Yeoh is renowned for her incredible body control, and in many films, she not only performs her own stunts, but also choreographs them. 7th place, Kill Bill, The Bride vs. the Crazy 88.
Can you speak Japanese?
No, just a few words I learned since yesterday.
Quentin Tarantino is a big fan of Hong Kong action films, so in creating his revenge saga, he focused heavily on fight choreography and visual style to capture that breathtaking essence. He even arranged to shoot part of the film in Asia, specifically in Beijing. It was there that the 5th chapter, Showdown at the House of Blue Leaves, was filmed. Interestingly, the set was built in a studio constructed during Mao Zedong's era for producing propaganda films. In the movie, the action takes place in Tokyo, where the main character, the bride, arrives and unleashes a massacre. All Kill Bill actors spent 3 months training 5 days a week, working on martial arts choreography, knife throwing, samurai lessons, treadmill running, and weightlifting. So by the time filming began, Uma Thurman was well prepared. The bride initially wipes out most of O-Ren's crazy 88 clan with her sword in an extremely bloody scene. Over the entire Kill Bill shoot, 2,000 liters of fake blood were used, with nearly a quarter of it splattered in this fight alone. Unsurprisingly, the film struggled to obtain an R rating, which allows minors to watch with adult supervision.
This is what you get for around Yakuzas! Go home to your mother!
Tarantino then decided to pay tribute to 1970s kung fu movies by adding a black and white filter to part of the fight, making the blood look like dark water. This same technique was used in older Asian films on television to avoid censorship. Originally, no one from the Crazy 88 was supposed to survive. But at the last minute, Tarantino decided to spare one character, Hu Xiaokui, a 17-year-old actor. The director felt that the bride wouldn't kill such a young boy and that it would make more sense to let him live. Right after the black and white battle comes the bride's showdown with O-Ren Ishii, played by Lucy Liu. The relative silence of this scene is striking after the cartoonish adrenaline of the previous one. The setting, a snow-covered Japanese garden under a tranquil night sky in black and blue tones, contrasts sharply with the earlier scene. Once again, Tarantino pays homage to classic samurai films like Lady Snowblood, 1973. In fact, Lucy Liu's white kimono in this scene was inspired by the one worn in that film. 6th place, The Matrix, Neo versus Agent Smith in the subway.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
The Matrix is packed with memorable fights, both hand-to-hand and weapon-based. Filming required a long period of preparation to ensure the actors reached a high level of martial arts skill. This was essential not only for realism, since not all scenes could use stunt doubles, but also as a tribute to Hong Kong kung fu films. For the fight choreography, the Wachowskis brought in Yuan Wu-ping, a Chinese director and martial arts master. Each of the 4 lead actors had a personal trainer from China. Initially, the training was planned to take a few weeks, but it ultimately took over 5 months. Keanu Reeves faced particular challenges due to a recent neck surgery just before training began. A separate challenge was mastering the wire work, which added to the action scene's visual appeal and paid homage to Hong Kong martial arts cinema. The most difficult fight scene from a technical standpoint was the subway showdown between Neo and Agent Smith. It starts like a Wild West duel. The two stand opposite each other, then Neo suddenly pulls out a gun and shoots.
You're empty. So are you.
They quickly discard their guns, transitioning into hand-to-hand combat. This scene took an enormous amount of time to shoot. Initially, the team planned to film it in a real subway, but instead found an abandoned grain storage facility with tracks. The set designers then built a subway station around it. The actors suffered from harnesses digging into their skin during the wire work, and for realism, the directors insisted on contact fighting. Cameramen often stood dangerously close to the actors, and in the most intense moments, Keanu's stunt double, Chad Stahelski, took over, sustaining several serious injuries in the subway fight. By the way, Stahelski then went on to direct Keanu in the John Wick franchise. The first Matrix film has many strengths, one of which is the fear surrounding the agents, against whom Keanu's character seems like a true underdog. But as the story unfolds, Neo begins to believe in himself, making this climactic subway fight so powerful. It marks Neo's triumph, the first time he chooses not to run but to fight, ultimately overpowering Agent Smith. 5th place, The Raid 2, Rama versus the Assassin.
Granny and his associates are with me. Yeah? And you are? You figure that out at some point.
The second installment of The Raid surpasses the first in scale and spectacle, even though it was a box office disappointment. However, its final, most intense fight scene is often hailed as one of the best in cinematic history. Director Gareth Evans builds tension and violence throughout the film, with each fight becoming more captivating and brutal than the last, setting up an unmissable finale. At the climax, the protagonist, Rama, played by Iko Uwais, fights his way through a gang of thugs and heads to a restaurant. On the way, he encounters a fearsome duo, a man with a baseball bat and a woman with a hammer. After overcoming these challenges, Rama finally reaches the restaurant kitchen, where he faces his most formidable opponent, the assassin, played by Indonesian actor Sesha Arif Rahman. To underscore their equal skill, the two opponents don't rush into combat. Instead, they approach each other slowly, almost touching, as if daring each other to back down, while the kitchen staff quietly evacuates. The fight begins with Rama and the assassin exchanging quick strikes, testing each other's speed and style. The assassin is confident, but over the next 5 minutes, Rama proves himself his equal. While the Raid franchise's fight scenes often seem chaotic, the kitchen battle is executed with surgical precision, like a deadly dance. Soon, the sterile white kitchen is smeared with blood, littered with scattered utensils and shattered glass. The scene is crafted deliberately, with the director painting a bloody action sequence on a pristine white canvas. The actors masterfully convey the realism of the fight, making it look as though they are truly hurting each other. Kicks and punches frequently connect rather than being blocked, adding a sense of vulnerability. These aren't invincible machines. They are skilled fighters with a fierce will to kill one another, resulting in a gritty yet strangely elegant battle. Evan's expert use of sound enhances the scene further. In the first half of the fight, energetic music plays in the background. But when the assassin draws his weapon, the stakes are raised and the music cuts out. All that's left is the crunch of glass and the fighter's labored breathing. Rama fights desperately for his life. A fast-paced beat kicks in again. Combined with constant shifts in camera angles, pauses, and slow-motion shots, this technique builds a sense of unpredictability. As the fight reaches its peak, the soundtrack returns, blending with the sounds of punches and screams into a chaotic crescendo. By the end of the battle, both fighters are utterly exhausted. Rama finishes the fight with a sudden, brutal attack. No slow death, just a swift conclusion to an epic confrontation. Viewers are left to catch their breath alongside him. 4th place, John Wick 4. The fight on the Sacré-Cœur stairs.
Mr. John Wick.
The John Wick franchise, centered around a hitman desperately seeking peace, has become a showcase of some of the most impressive stunts and fight choreography in action cinema. The 4th installment earned particular praise for its relentless pacing, moving seamlessly from one action sequence to the next. Among them, the staircase fight in Paris, leading up to the Sacré-Cœur Basilica, stands out. John Wick is on his way to a duel with the Marquis in an attempt to earn his freedom, but all the city's assassins stand in his way. When he's about 300 steps from his destination, the real challenge begins. At one point, John is thrown down the stairs, drawing a strong reaction from audiences, who audibly gasped in theaters at his misfortune. Wick's determination in this scene evokes comparisons to the iconic moment in Rocky when Sylvester Stallone's character triumphantly runs up the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art. This scene was filmed on location in Paris, and director Chad Stahelski and his team made full use of the steep staircase of Sacré-Cœur. The stairs' steepness creates dramatic falls, while ramps and railings are well integrated into the fight choreography, with Wick's enemies sliding and tumbling down them. Each landing platform every few dozen steps acts as a natural pause, allowing for a brief break and ratcheting up the tension as the fight progresses. As in other scenes from the franchise, they minimize the use of a double for Keanu Reeves. However, for the most intense fall, it was stuntman Vincent Bouillon who took the plunge. He practiced for several days, and it took 4 takes to capture the final shot. Special mats were placed on the steps to soften impacts, which were later edited out in post-production, where muzzle flashes and smoke effects from gunfire were also added. 3rd place, Itman. Donnie Yen vs. 10 black belts.
Chang?
The name Ip Man, Chinese martial arts master and Bruce Lee's teacher, is well known to anyone familiar with martial arts. Many actors have portrayed the legendary master on screen, but Donnie Yen's performance across the 4 Ip Man films remains the most memorable. This role has become one of the defining points of Yen's career. While the film is only loosely based on the real Itman's life, many events are fictionalized. Still, the filmmakers enlisted support from Itman's son, Ip Chun, who consulted on both his father's biography and the choreography of the fight scenes. The film's primary fight choreographer was Sammo Hung, one of the most influential figures in Hong Kong cinema and the star of martial law. One of the franchise's most famous scenes is Ip Man's battle against 10 highly trained karate black belts. This fight occurs in the first film, released in 2008. Up to this point, Ip Man is known for his calm composure, but in this fight, he loses control and unleashes his fury on his opponents. The way he dispatches his foes is nothing short of spectacular. In a sense, this scene pays homage to Fist of Fury. But here, the brutality and modern cinematography take it to another level. Typically fighting only when necessary, Donnie Yen's Ip Man reduces his opponents to a group of novices, making them look like they just stepped into a training hall. By then, Yen was already an established martial arts film star, known for his high-level fight scene execution. It's hard to believe he began studying Wing Chun, Ip Man's martial arts style, only shortly before filming. It feels like he's practiced it his whole life. The speed of the character's hand movements is stunning and drives the scene's intensity. This effect is enhanced by the superb editing and a top-down shot in the second half of the fight, where Ip Man fends off attacks from 4 opponents at once, makes him look like Neo from The Matrix. Only here, everything is done without CGI. Another impressive fight in the film is the showdown between Ip Man and the traveling master Jin, played by Louis Fan, who rose to fame in the live-action adaptation of the manga Riki-Oh. This is one of the best choreographed fight scenes in cinema, and thanks to slow-motion effects, viewers can fully appreciate each move. Despite the slow motion, the fight's realism remains intact. Every punch is shown without any added theatricality. The scene vividly contrasts Ip Man's restrained movements with his opponent's aggressive style. Adding a touch of humor, Jin promises to pay for each item broken during the fight. And when a child enters the scene, the combatants pause out of respect.
爸爸媽媽話你再唔出手嘅話，屋企啲嘢就會爛晒㗎啦。
好啊。
Second place, Old Boy, the hallway fight scene.
내 이름이 왜 우대수냐면은 오늘만 대충 수습하면서 살자.
One of the most iconic moments in Korean cinema and action films is the hallway fight scene in Old Boy. The film itself is a brutal exploration of revenge, but this fight scene stands out. It was filmed with unique techniques that make it unforgettable, so it's no wonder that many have tried to replicate it. The story follows Oh Dae-soo, a man imprisoned in a windowless room for 15 years. Through the news on television, he learns that his wife has been murdered and that he is the prime suspect. Upon finally being released, Dae-soo returns to his prison to seek answers. It's here, in a dark and narrow hallway, that he encounters a group of enemies. The scene is remarkable for being shot in a single continuous take. To create a believable fight, the choreographers and actors underwent extensive rehearsals, meticulously planning each move for maximum realism and fluidity. Initially, the scene was supposed to be shot in a standard way with close-ups and over-the-shoulder shots, like the ones audiences have seen countless times. But on the day of filming, director Park Chan-wook told the fight choreographer that he wanted to shoot it in a single take. This choice added significant difficulty, as the actors had to execute 60 to 70 moves in a row. This is challenging even with traditional filming, but performing the entire sequence in one take for hours was physically taxing. Lead actor Choi Min-sik admitted that after 10 takes, he began to feel nauseous. However, the director still hadn't captured the desired shot, so they continued after a short break, eventually filming 6 or 7 more takes. Interestingly, none of the takes were perfect. According to the director, it's the imperfections that make the scene so authentic. People make mistakes, hesitate before taking action, and these small pauses that break the rhythm add to the fight's uniqueness. The continuous shot also creates a constant sense of tension, as viewers instinctively wait for an edit that never comes. Another element enhancing the scene is the lighting. The dimly lit hallway, illuminated only by faint lamps, emphasizes the dark atmosphere and focuses attention on the characters' movements. This scene has become a symbol of the film and a cinematic masterpiece, elevating Oldboy as an outstanding work of art. Director Park Chan-wook describes the scene as a metaphor for human life. Oh Dae-soo fights not against a main villain, but against faceless characters who represent real-life problems, illness, dangers, and internal conflicts. The battle against these challenges builds fatigue and loneliness, just as it does for Dae-soo. Park also notes that the scene contains not only intense fighting, but also ironic and even comedic moments, just like life. The actors weren't simply performing stunts. They conveyed feelings of anger, despair, and the fight for survival. Oh Dae-soo emerges victorious, inspiring viewers in the process. Oldboy won a prize at the Cannes Film Festival in 2004, and has influenced many other filmmakers. Quentin Tarantino, for example, considers Oldboy an absolute masterpiece, and the creators of Daredevil were inspired by it to create their own hallway fight scene. In fact, any hallway fight in film is likely an homage to Oldboy, as openly acknowledged by James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Although his version includes edits, it's designed to look like a single take. Interestingly, Gunn's scene was filmed over 3 days, with an entire year spent on post-production. First place, Enter the Dragon, the fight in the Hall of Mirrors.
What's your style?
My style? You can call it the art of fighting without fighting.
Released in 1973, Enter the Dragon became one of the greatest films in its genre, though tragically, Bruce Lee didn't live to see its premiere. Despite its limited budget, the film was commercially successful after its 3-month shoot. Beyond that, it made a lasting impact on popular culture and was selected in 2004 by the U.S. National Film Registry for preservation in the Library of Congress. The film features several iconic scenes, although interestingly, none of them were in the original script. The screenwriter hired by Warner Brothers didn't have much knowledge of Kung Fu, so Bruce Lee ended up rewriting most of the script himself. Although the studio initially resisted his ideas, his vision ultimately prevailed. The most thrilling scene in the film is when Han lures Lee into a room of mirrors to disorient him. This climactic showdown follows an intense fight between Lee and Han's mercenaries. While it's rumored that the mirror concept was Lee's idea, the film's cinematographer claims it came from director Robert Close. During filming, there was a significant challenge. The camera's reflection kept appearing in the mirrors. To solve this, the crew built a mirror cabinet with a hole for the camera. However, Bruce Lee constantly bumped into the cabinet, causing the camera to shake and making the operator feel dizzy. Nevertheless, the fight between Lee and Han turned out exceptionally effective, with each strike reflected in multiple angles, a technique that has inspired many other filmmakers to use mirror rooms in fight scenes.
Don't think. Feel. It is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.
Do you agree with this ranking? What fight scenes would you add?